The In-Home Supportive Services Program, or IHSS, makes it possible for you to remain safely in your own home, where you can enjoy personal freedom and independence and continue being a part of your community. The purpose of this video is to provide some information and suggestions to help you as the employer hire your provider employee. After you've applied for IHSS and gone through the assessment process, the county will send you a Notice of Action, or NOAA, listing the IHSS services that have been approved for you and how much time is authorized for each service. Review your NOAA carefully to determine what you'll be asking your provider to do. If you think that just one provider can't perform all of the services you need or all of the authorized hours, you may decide to hire more than one provider. So let's start things off by reviewing the process you will go through to find your provider employee. Finding the right person is very important, so be sure to take the time you need to find someone that can not only do the job, but also someone that you are comfortable with. As the employer, you can hire anyone who meets IHSS provider enrollment requirements and can meet your needs. This can be a family member, friend, or someone referred from the Public Authority Registry. Some ways to find a provider may be through your church, by placing an ad in your local newspaper, or just by word of mouth. Just remember to be careful about what personal information you give out about yourself. It is not always a good idea to give out your home address. You can also contact your county IHSS office or public authority for assistance. When you start getting applicants, your first step should be to screen them through a telephone interview. During this phone call, you should be able to get a good idea of the person's availability, experience, willingness, and their ability to perform the needed tasks. Make sure to mention any specific needs you have during this interview, such as whether you want a non-smoker, or someone who has their own car and is willing to drive you to appointments, or even someone who can lift a certain number of pounds. This would also be a good time to let them know that IHSS providers must attend a provider orientation, be fingerprinted at their own expense, and pass a background check. If you like the person and want to move forward, the next step would be to set up a face-to-face interview. Be sure to ask anyone you interview to bring a photo ID and a list of 3 references with them to the interview.
When I go to an interview with a prospective provider, I always attempt to bring somebody else with me. I usually end up bringing my neighbor. She's also uses caregivers. She's an in-home support services recipient as well. So I always ask her if she wants to come with me. And there's a cafe just a couple blocks from my house, so we just usually go meet there.
And then I would meet them at the IHS office, and they'd help me find another person to help me in my home.
That's why sometimes that extra perspective is good, because they may pick up on something that I didn't pick up on that down the road really wouldn't work out for me. So I always like to bring my trusty neighbor with me if possible.
It's generally a good idea to interview more than one person and make notes during the interview that you can refer back to later. Some important things to remember are: ask to see identification. This may be a valid California driver's license or identification card with a photo. Explain your expectations for work behavior, including the use of your belongings, arrival and departure times, and other information that will be important for the person you hire to know. Go over the services and hours authorized for you. Ask if they have been an IHSS provider before, and if they've gone through the provider enrollment process. Explain that IHSS does not pay for the cost of gas, car insurance, or public transportation. Make sure you are clear on who will pay these costs and that your provider has car insurance and a valid driver's license if they will be providing the service. Make sure to give the people you interview a chance to ask you questions about the job and the services that you will need. And you should always check your applicant's references. Explain to your provider that the amount of pay they will receive is set by the county and that Social Security and state disability insurance taxes are deducted from their wages. If you are hiring someone under the age of 18, you must also comply with all laws and regulations relating to wages, hours, and working conditions.
After I do an interview with a provider, I always ask them for references.
And make sure that, that there's not just family references.
And I ask them things like, are they trustworthy?
How long had she been working in the building?
Has anything ever showed up missing?
And who else had she been working for?
Are they a good hard worker? Because those are the things that you really can't teach somebody. Either they have it or they don't. But my routine, then the things I need done, that's something I could teach somebody.
Once your interviews are complete and it's time to make the final decision, look back at your notes and compare the strengths, qualifications, and references of each person you interviewed. When you've decided who best meets your needs, let that person know and then contact your county IHSS office so your provider can begin the enrollment process if they have not already done so. Make sure to also inform your social worker by completing a recipient designation of provider form, which is also known as the SOC 426A. Another important form to complete is the Employment Eligibility Verification Form, I-9. The purpose of this form is to document that each employee is authorized to work in the United States. This requires you to confirm that your provider has proper documentation, such as a Social Security card and driver's license, or government-issued photo identification card. The form includes instructions for completion and retention. If you have any questions or need a form, contact your county representative or public authority office. Lastly, you should inform your provider that they may request that federal and/or state income taxes be deducted from their wages by completing the proper forms, that they are covered by workers' compensation, and that non-family providers are also eligible for state unemployment insurance and state disability insurance benefits. During the first meeting with your new provider, it's important to tell them what you expect. This is the time to talk about any difficult issues and agree on things before they start work. The things you should go over are authorized task review. Your provider can only do the tasks and services that have already been authorized by IHSS. This is the time to go over that list, which is in your NOAA, and review the time that is approved for each task. This may also be a good time to tell your provider that they will also receive an information sheet from the county that will list your authorized services and the authorized time given to perform those services. Use this chart to show when the tasks need to be done, daily, weekly, monthly, or on another schedule such as 2 times per week. Health issues. Clearly outline things like allergies or special needs, and if you are willing, discuss if either of you have any infectious diseases such as HIV, hepatitis, tuberculosis, or other. Supplies. Go over where they are kept and how to use any special equipment. Medications, emergency information, a work schedule, contact information, and transportation arrangements. During your first meeting, you and your provider should also go over and sign a job agreement. This document clearly lays out general rules that you and your provider agree to, their pay and their hours. Your social worker will provide you a job agreement form and a fact sheet that explains it in more detail. Congratulations! Once you have hired a provider, you can now begin to get IHSS assistance to help you continue living safely and independently in your own home. We hope that this video has provided you with some useful information about hiring an IHSS provider. For additional IHSS information and resources, contact your local county IHSS office or visit www.cdss.ca